The Galactic Empire was a vast power, ruling over millions of star systems. They had fleets that could wipe out entire planets and weapons capable of destroying stars. Nothing could surprise them, at least that's what they thought it all. Started when the Empire's deep space scanners picked up something strange. The object didn't show up in any of their records. There was no ID, no signal, no sign of life. It's just an object moving at incredible speeds, faster than anything that Empire's best trackers had ever seen. The object appeared out of nowhere, like a ghost in the vastness of space. The scanners couldn't lock onto it, and the usual methods of tracking failed. It was like it was moving between the stars without a trace. Captain Alara, commander of the fleet stationed near the Outer Rim, was the first to notice it. Her ship, the Nova Horizon, was one of the most advanced in the Empire. She'd seen countless objects, but nothing like this. It moved like a comet, but faster and with a strange, almost unnatural precision. It didn't match any known patterns. A flight. For a moment, Captain Alara thought it was a malfunction in the sensors. But after checking, she found that the readings were real. This object was real. "Report, Lieutenant," Captain Alara said. Her voice steady, but filled with concern. The young officer at the scanner station looked up, his face pale. It's still moving, Captain. I can't get a clear fix. It's too fast." The room fell silent. This was impossible. Nothing, not even the Empire's most advanced ships, could move that fast. The Empire had controlled the galaxy for centuries, and they had the fastest ships and the most powerful weapons. But this was something new, something unknown. "This isn't right, Captain," Alara muttered under her breath. "Send a report to command. We need more eyes on this. It could be a threat." Within hours, the entire fleet was alerted. The Empire's most powerful ships began to converge on the object's last known location, but no one could catch up to it. It was too fast. It wasn't slowing down. Word spread across the galaxy quickly. Other fleets, high-ranking officials, and even distant colonies started receiving the same reports. The object seemed to be traveling across space with no care for the Empire's borders. The fear began to grow. "We need to find out what this is before it gets any closer," said General Kale, one of the highest-ranking officials in the fleet. His voice was firm, but even he could feel the growing unease in the room. Prepare for emergency maneuvers. The Empire's best ships were now in pursuit, but the object showed no signs of slowing down. It didn't matter how fast they went, how advanced their ships were. Nothing could catch it. The Empire had seen many things in its time, but nothing like this. Back on Earth, the situation wasn't much different. The humans who lived on the edge of the galaxy were just starting to hear about the object, and they didn't understand what all the fuss was about. They weren't involved in galactic politics, and the Empire had long ignored their presence. But as the Empire's forces scrambled to catch the object, something strange happened. In a small, quiet research facility in a remote part of Earth, a group of scientists noticed something. They had been studying unusual cosmic phenomena for years, tracking the movements of distant stars and galaxies. But this object wasn't like anything they'd ever seen. They could track its speed, its direction, its energy readings, but they couldn't explain how it was moving. Dr. Marcus Stone, the lead scientist, stared at the data. He was the first to see it. "This can't be right," he whispered. "Readings they're off the charts. No ship could travel like this. No technology we know can make these kinds of jumps." His assistant, Julia, looked over his shoulder. "What do you mean, Doctor? Is it a weapon?" "No," Dr. Stone said, his voice shaking. "It's not a weapon. It's something else. Something beyond what we've ever studied." The scientists at the facility quickly realized something the Empire had overlooked. The object wasn't moving like a ship, wasn't moving like any spacecraft they knew. It was moving through space-time itself in a way that bent the laws of physics. They had no idea how it was possible, but they could see the truth now. This object was not just some strange alien ship. It was something far more advanced and far more dangerous than anything the Empire had ever faced. Meanwhile, Captain Alara's fleet had reached the point where the object was last detected. It was gone. Sensors could no longer track it. Even though it should have been right there, it disappeared into the stars as if it had never been there at all. The object has vanished, Captain, the lieutenant reported. We've lost all contact. Captain Alara's mind raced. It was as if the object was never there. The impossible had happened. It was no longer just an unknown ship. It was something much worse, something that could disappear at will, something that no one, not even the Empire, could control. "What's going on?" she asked, but no one had an answer. All they could do now was wait and wonder. Had they been left behind, or was this just the beginning? The mystery was far from over, but one thing was certain. The Empire had just encountered something beyond its power to understand. And now it would have to figure out how to deal with it before it was too late. The news of the mysterious object spread quickly across the galaxy, causing fear and confusion. The Empire had always been in control, a powerful force that ruled with unmatched strength. But now, for the first time in centuries, it seemed vulnerable. The object moved faster than anything they had ever encountered, and no one could understand how or why it had appeared. No one could track it, and no one could catch it. Captain Alara stood on the bridge of the Nova horizon, watching the stars pass by outside the ship's windows. Her crew had been searching for the object for hours, but they were no closer to finding it. The object had vanished without a trace, leaving only questions behind. The deep space scanners had stopped picking up any signals. There was no sign of the strange ship anywhere in the surrounding area. "We've searched every corner of this sector," Captain Lieutenant Rin, the communications officer, said, looking at the blinking lights on the control panel. "It's like the object never existed. There's no sign of it anywhere." Captain Alara frowned, her mind racing. How could something just disappear? They had seen the object on their scanners. They knew it was real, but now it was as if it had vanished into thin air. She turned to her crew, determination in her eyes. "We can't give up. Keep searching. I want every fleet in the sector to stay on alert," she ordered. "If that thing is still out there, we will find it." Meanwhile, on Earth, scientists at a research facility in a remote part of the planet had begun to study the mysterious object as well. They had access to some of the same data the Empire had received, and they too were puzzled. Dr. Marcus Stone, who had been tracking cosmic anomalies for years, was the first to make a connection. "This is unlike anything we've ever seen," he said, speaking to a small team of scientists. "The object is moving in a way that defies our understanding of physics. It doesn't just travel through space, it seems to bend space itself." His assistant Julia looked at the readings on her screen, her face filled with worry. "You saying that the object could be traveling through time as well as space?" "That's exactly what I'm saying," Dr. Stone replied. "This object doesn't follow the usual rules. We need to understand how it works before it's too late." The scientists worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data they could find. The object's movements didn't make sense, but they began to see a pattern. It wasn't just moving through space, it was skipping across the fabric of reality itself in a way that made it impossible to track. As Earth's scientists continued their research, word came from the Empire. The object had appeared once again, this time in a distant corner of the galaxy. It wasn't staying in one place for long, and every time they tried to get close, it would disappear again, only to show up somewhere else. General Kale, who had been leading the Empire's military response, was becoming frustrated. His fleet was among the most advanced in the galaxy, yet they were no match for the mysterious object. No matter how fast they traveled, no matter how powerful their weapons were, they couldn't seem to keep up. "We need a new plan," General Kale said, pacing back and forth in his command center. "We can't keep chasing this thing forever. We need to find a way to stop it before it reaches our home systems." The Empire's top commanders met in secret to discuss their options. Some suggested sending a larger fleet, hoping that more ships would overwhelm the object. Others believed the object was part of an alien attack, and they wanted to send a fleet to destroy it. But none of their plans seemed to make sense. The object wasn't like anything the Empire had ever encountered. It wasn't just a threat. It was something unknown, something far beyond their technology. In the midst of this uncertainty, fear began to spread across the galaxy. Civilizations that had once been at peace with the Empire now feared for their survival. If the Empire couldn't stop the object, what chance did they have? Messages of panic flooded the communication networks. Aliens began to evacuate there. Homeworlds and trade routes were abandoned. The galaxy was in a state of chaos, and no one knew what to do. On Earth, the situation was different. The humans had been largely ignored by the Empire for years. Left to their own devices on the outskirts of the galaxy, but now it seemed that humanity might be the only hope. As the Empire struggled to make sense of the object, Earth's scientists continued to study it, searching for any clue that could lead to a solution. Dr. Stone's team had made an important discovery. The object wasn't just bending space, it was creating ripples in the fabric of time. These ripples were small, but they were growing. If they weren't careful, the object could create a tear in the very fabric of reality itself. If that happened, the consequences would be catastrophic. "We have to warn the Empire," Dr. Stone said, turning to his team. "This is bigger than we ever imagined. If we don't stop it now, we could lose everything." Back in the Empire's command center, General Kale received the warning from Earth. It was clear now that the object wasn't just a strange ship. It was a threat that could destroy the entire galaxy. The Empire had no choice but to act. But what could they do? How could they stop something they didn't even understand? The tension was growing. Every passing moment brought them closer to the unknown. The object was still out there, and no one knew what it would do next. "We need answers," General Kale said, his voice filled with urgency, "and we need them now." As the Empire prepared for what could be their greatest battle yet, one thing was certain: the galaxy was no longer in control. The mysterious object had changed everything, and no one knew what would happen next. The Empire's elite fleet had gathered once again. It had been hunting the mysterious object for weeks, yet it continued to elude them. It moved at incredible speeds, always ahead of them, always out of reach. But something had changed. This time, they were closer than ever. Captain Alara stood on the bridge of the Nova horizon, her eyes fixed on the vastness of space. The object had appeared once again, but this time they were prepared. Her crew had been working around the clock to track its movements, and it seemed like they had finally cracked the puzzle. The readings were different this time, clearer, more stable. Captain Lieutenant Rin called out from his station. "We've got a lock. It's still moving at incredible speeds, but we can track it now. It's heading towards the edge of the galaxy. If we follow its course, we might be able to catch up." Ilara nodded. "Good. Set a course. Yeah. We can't let it get away again." The Nova horizon surged forward, its engines roaring as it cut through the darkness of space. The object was ahead, just within reach. It'd come this far, now they couldn't lose it. As they got closer, the object's strange behavior became more apparent. It wasn't just a ship, it was something far beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. It seemed to be warping the very fabric of space around it. Stars blinked out of existence, only to reappear moments later, as if the object was playing with the rules of reality itself. "This isn't a ship," Captain Alara muttered. "It's something else." Her words were barely a whisper, but they felt heavy. If this wasn't a ship, then what was it? The Empire had faced countless enemies, alien fleets, rebellious planets, even galactic storms, but nothing like this. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Stone's team had been working tirelessly to understand the object. They had access to the same data that the Empire's fleet was receiving, and they had made an unsettling discovery. The object wasn't just moving through space, it was creating ripples in time itself. It was traveling in ways that no known technology should have been able to achieve. "This is impossible," Dr. Stone said, staring at the readings. "The object is not just bending space, it's bending time. It's like it's jumping through different points in time, moving through the past, present, and future at will." Julia, his assistant, looked up from her screen, her face pale with fear. "So what are we dealing with here? If it's warping time, then ... Then we don't know what could happen next," Dr. Stone finished. "It's dangerous. It keeps going. The fabric of reality could tear. We might not just lose our galaxy, we could lose everything." The two scientists stared at the data in silence. The object was far more than just an unknown ship. It was a force that could destroy everything they knew: space, time, and even reality itself. Meanwhile, General Kale and his commanders were discussing the next move. The fleet had finally caught up to the object, and they were preparing for a confrontation. But no one knew how to fight something that wasn't a ship. How could you defeat something that bent space and time? "We can't attack it like any other ship," General Kale said, pacing in front of the holographic map. "This isn't just technology, it's something else. We don't even know what it is. But we know it's dangerous." His officers exchanged uneasy glances. They had never faced anything like this before. Even the Empire's best weapons would be useless against something that could warp reality. Back on the Nova Horizon, Captain Elara's crew continued their efforts to close the distance. They were getting closer to the object, but it wasn't slowing down. It wasn't even reacting to their approach. It was as if it didn't care about them at all. Then, without warning, the object did something no one expected. It stopped moving. The Nova Horizon came to a halt, just as the object did. It was no longer speeding through the stars or warping space. It was just ... still. The crew stared in disbelief. What was it doing? Why had it stopped? "We've lost." "The lock," Lieutenant Rin said, confusion in his voice. "It's not moving anymore. It's just sitting there." Captain Elara's mind raced. This was it. They were close enough now, but they still didn't know what the object was or why. It was here. She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message to the fleet. We need all ships to be ready. Something is about to happen." But before they could prepare for what was next, the object did something even more unexpected. It began to glow bright, intense, and almost blinding. It wasn't just light. It felt ... wrong. The crew of the Nova Horizon shielded their eyes as the light intensified. Flooding the entire ship, Captain Elara's heart pounded in her chest. "What is it doing?" Before anyone could answer, the light exploded outward, consuming everything in its path. On Earth, Dr. Stone's team watched in horror as the object's glow reached across the galaxy. It was as if the object was sending out a signal, a pulse, that could be felt all the way back on their planet. "We need to stop it," Dr. Stone said, his voice filled with urgency. "If we don't, we might lose everything." The fate of the galaxy now rested on the decisions made in the next few moments. The Empire had never faced anything like this, and neither had Earth. But one thing was certain: they had to find a way to stop the object before it was too late. The light from the mysterious object faded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving the Nova Horizon and the other ships in the fleet to stare at the empty space before them. The object was gonna vanish into the stars once more without a trace. Captain Elara's heart raced in her chest. They had been so close, yet now the galaxy felt eerily silent, as if the entire universe was holding its breath. "Report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. Lieutenant Rin quickly checked his readings. "We've lost all contact with the object, Captain. It's as if it never existed. The warp in space, ... It's gone. Everything is normal again." Captain Elara narrowed her eyes. She didn't trust it. They had seen too much, had witnessed the impossible. And now it was gone. "We need to find out where it went," she said, her tone sharp. "Prepare to scan all nearby sectors. Can't afford to let it slip away again." The crew of the Nova Horizon went to work, each of them silently wondering. If the object would return, it knew that no one had ever seen anything like this before. It wasn't just a ship, it wasn't just a weapon, it was something far more dangerous, something that couldn't be understood with the knowledge they had. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Stone's team continued to study the strange object, piecing together everything they had learned so far. They had been analyzing the signals from the object when it had released its burst of light. They didn't know how, but somehow, the object had sent a signal, one that reached across the entire galaxy. The strange distortion it created in space-time seemed to ripple through everything. But what was its purpose? Dr. Stone sat back in his chair, staring at the data on the screen, the signal it sent. "It's different from anything we've ever seen. It's not like a normal transmission. It's almost like it's connected to the very fabric of reality itself." His assistant, Julia, walked over and looked at the screen. What do you mean? Is this something that could harm us? I don't know, Dr. Stone admitted. But whatever it wasn't a typical weapon. It wasn't meant to destroy. It's more like ... It was testing us, showing us something. The thought chilled him. What if the object wasn't an enemy at all? What if it was a message from the future? What if humanity was meant to be part of something greater, something they hadn't even begun to understand? Look at this, Julia said, pointing to the screen. This data doesn't match anything we've ever recorded. It's like it's responding to us. Every time we analyze it, it adjusts. It's learning. Dr. Stone's eyes widened. That's it. The object is adapting. It's like it's trying to communicate, not just with us, but with everything. It's reacting to what we know. Meanwhile, back in the Empire's command center, General Kale stared out at the stars. His fleet had been chasing shadows for days, and the frustration was beginning to show on his face. The object had been so close, and now it was gone. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. He turned to his officers. The object is still out there. We may have lost it this time, but it will return. When it does, we need to be ready. He paused for a moment, letting the weight of his words settle in. This isn't just about tracking a ship. This is about the future of the Empire. If we let this slip through our fingers, we may never get another chance. Captain Alara's voice cut through the silence. General, we found something. We've located a source of energy. ... It's the object. It's coming back. General Kale's eyes narrowed. Where? It's heading directly toward Earth, Captain Alara said. It's not just a random path, it's following a direct course like it's intentionally making its way there. The Empire's leadership exchanged looks. Earth was a remote and largely ignored world. But now, it was at the center of this galactic mystery. Was the object headed there for a reason? Or was it merely passing through? No one knew for sure, but the time for answers was quickly running out. Meanwhile, on Earth, the team of scientists, led by Dr. Stone, was making a breakthrough. The object signal had changed once again, and they had detected something strange. The object wasn't just moving through space. It was moving through time itself, shifting between past and future, adjusting its path in ways that seemed impossible. This is it, Dr. Stone said, his voice trembling with excitement. We've figured it out. The object doesn't just travel through space, it moves through different points in time. It's able to skip ahead, jump backwards, like it's rewriting the very timeline of the galaxy. Julia looked at him wide. Are you saying it can change the future? I don't know, Dr. Stone admitted. But I think it's trying to show us something. Maybe it's testing us. It's trying to make us see the bigger picture. As the object drew closer to Earth, the fear and excitement in the galaxy reached a fever pitch. The Empire had underestimated humanity for centuries. But now it seemed that humans might hold the key to unlocking the mystery of the object. The scientists on Earth had made a discovery that no one else had donned now. The fate of the galaxy rested in their hands. The object was coming, and humanity had to be ready. They didn't know if it was a friend or foe, but they knew one thing. Whatever happened next, the galaxy would never be the same. The tension in the galaxy was palpable as the mysterious object made its way toward Earth. Ships from the Empire had gathered in full force, their powerful engines humming as they prepared for what might be the most important confrontation of their existence. They knew this object wasn't just a ship. It was something that defied all their understanding of space and time. Captain Alara stood at the command center of the Nova Horizon, watching the screen as the object drew nearer. The object was still, moving fast, but it wasn't avoiding them this time. It was heading straight for Earth, and the moment of truth had finally arrived. Captain, Lieutenant Rin called out, his voice steady but tense. We've confirmed it. The object's course is fixed. We'll reach Earth in 3 hours. Alara nodded. Prepare the fleet. We'll be ready when it arrives. But as the fleet continued to track the object, something unexpected happened. The object slowed down. It wasn't stopping, but it wasn't moving at the same breakneck speed either. It seemed to be drifting, almost as if it were waiting for something. The mystery only deepened. What is it doing? Alara muttered too. herself. It's almost like it knows we're following it. Back on Earth, Dr. Marcus Stone's team was working quickly to decode the object's signal. They had been tracking the energy waves it emitted, hoping to understand its purpose. And just as the object slowed down, they received another transmission. Time. Something different from what they had seen before. It's sending out another signal, Julia said, her fingers flying over the keyboard. It's not just data. It's a pattern, a message. Dr. Stone leaned in, staring at the screen. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It's not just trying to communicate with us, ... It's trying to teach us something. Showing us how it works, how we can understand it. The message was strange and cryptic, but it was clear that the object wasn't an enemy. It wasn't a weapon or a ship meant to destroy. It was something far more complex. The object seemed to be offering humanity a chance to learn, a chance to understand the very fabric of space and time itself. We've been going about this all wrong, Dr. Stone said, his voice filled with realization. The object isn't here to fight us. It's here to guide us. It's offering us the power to see the universe in a way we never could before. Captain Alara had received the message from Earth and now understood something crucial. The object wasn't just an alien threat. It was something that could change the course of human history. It was offering humanity a chance to be part of something far larger than they had ever imagined. But what did the object want in return? And could humanity truly understand the power it was being offered? The Nova Horizon and the Empire's fleet continued their approach toward Earth. They had to make a decision. Did they strike and destroy the object, or did they take the risk and learn from it? General Kale, who had been in charge of the fleet, stepped forward to make his choice. We can't destroy something that could give us knowledge of the universe. General Kale said, his voice firm. We've spent so long fighting, so long trying to control everything. But this is different. We need to learn from it. We need to let humanity decide its future. As the fleet held its position near Earth, the object began to respond. The light that had once blazed brightly around it softened, revealing a sleek, metallic surface. It hovered silently above the planet, a perfect example of alien technology far beyond anything the Empire had ever seen. The once imposing mystery was now a silent enigma, waiting for humanity's response. Captain, Lieutenant Rin said, his voice shaky but filled with hope. It's waiting for us. It's waiting for humanity to make the first move. Captain Alara stood tall, her eyes fixed on the object. She knew the decision wouldn't be easy, but humanity was. No longer the weak, forgotten species in the galaxy. They had earned the chance to take control of their own future. Now was their time to prove it. We've waited long enough, Captain, Alara said, her voice resolute. It's time for humanity to take the next step. On Earth, Dr. Stone's team was ready to make contact. The transmission from the object had been decoded, and the message was clear. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation to understand the universe, to bend the laws of space and time, to become something greater. As humanity prepared to respond, a new dawn was breaking. For the first time, Earth's leaders and scientists were united in their understanding of what the object meant. The galaxy had never seen anything like it before, and now humanity had the chance to shape its future. But what would happen when the object revealed its true power? Would humanity be able to harness it, or would they lose their way and fall into chaos? No one knew for sure. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The mysterious object hovered over Earth, its presence both a challenge and an opportunity. And as the fleets from the Empire watched from the distance, they understood one thing: they had underestimated humanity for far too long. The future of the galaxy was no longer in the hands of the Empire. It was in humanity's hands now.